for your sports shows, updates, and interviews. The only way is the right way, I might say. Nobody doing it better, y'all some lightweights. Malik Wright, up all day and all night, pushing all the buttons up to something till it's alright. He looking at it from all sides and angles. Got a stripes on his body like he played for the Bengals. Oh man, there's no one discussing it. They came, they stayed, they either did it or done it. Man, I love it, cause all they ever do is win. So kick back, relax, the team WSN.
Shout out Young Swish.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of State of the Jungle with Malik, Wright, and the guys, presented by the Right Way Sports Network. Do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live. Got a jam-packed show, a lot of stuff to get into, a lot of stuff to talk about. But before we do, I messed up my entire shindig how I usually. It's been one of those weeks, so I'm just gonna rock, guys. I'm just gonna rock, man. But listen, it was an interesting game this past week against the Ravens. But before we jump into all that, I just want to say it's good to have the boys back. Evan wasn't with us last week. We missed you. We missed Know Thy Enemy. Although, I think that the Bengals offense played as perfect as they probably could have that game.
You ain't lying, man.
Things just fell short. Things just didn't go the Bengals' way. But it's football, right? You have a lot of ebbs and flows, a lot of stuff. You can't win every single game. You had the Bengals go out there and they tried to potentially make additions, right? Like guys like Xavier and Howard. He posted something interesting on his story. I think it was today or yesterday. He was like, he's fine with criticism, but he's not fine with disrespect. And I found that interesting. I'm wondering what those talks were like. And, I didn't really feel the need to really dive in and ask, because it was like, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. He's not signing here.
Yeah.
He's not a part of Cincinnati. So anything that negative or positive that would come out of it would have been spent negatively. I feel like the Bengals are in such a volatile state right now with their fan base. And I feel like things need to get better, like fast here. This is a huge game coming up against the Chargers. And usually the show is spent, we have our topics, and we still have our topics, things we want to talk about. But this is going to be more of a free-flowing show, honestly, a conversation, because I don't know about you guys. I'm tired of, just the cookie-cutter bullshit, to be honest with you. I want to talk about the real. I want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's been a lot of ugly lately, mainly from a record standpoint. Let me just let y'all know I'm disappointed in the front office's handling of this season. It started all the way back into the off season, obviously, but even going into the trade deadline, you knew what you needed to do. You put feelers out there. Diana Rossini was able to report that the Bengals are interested in a couple defensive players, and they were leaving no stone unturned, and yet still they left with a running back. A running back who got one carry and fumbled, and you're going to see a different side of Malik today. You're going to see Malik being open, honest, and you know what? If I hurt your feelings, I hurt your feelings. I've gotten those texts already. So here's what I'll say. I feel like this win right here, this game coming up right here, is dire. I feel like the Bengals season is on life support. But without being just doom and gloom, I'll let y'all know right now that my stance might shock y'all a little bit of where I see this Bengals team's future for the rest of the remainder of the season. So let's get back on schedule here. Let's talk about the Ravens game. Let's recap the Ravens game. Let's recap the abysmal Ravens game. Logan, what were your thoughts?
Man, Thursday feels like ages ago at this point.
Right.
The Thursday night primetime games always kind of mess up the whole football flow. But at the end of the day, it's a classic game that we play with the Ravens. I'm glad these games are at least very entertaining and very good football, at least. But the thing that obviously stands out is Joe getting pressured 40 times. That's like unworldly. I believe the 3 players in the league who had the most pressures in Week 10 all played for the Baltimore Ravens. Like that stuff is it's just blatantly unacceptable. We had so many people play well. Joe played great. Jamar played great. Mike Gesicki continued to do well. Chase Brown did pretty good in the passing game, catching a crap ton of balls. So the offense is going to continue to do what it is. The defense is still going to be the talking point, no matter how, when, where we talk about the Bengals. It's always going to come down to the defense side of the football, because that's constantly been the side that's letting us down this year. There's still people that are playing more than they should. There's people not playing nearly as much as they should be. It's just they can't get the right personnel grouping out there. We saw Josh Newton get out there a little bit more. So it seems like they're aware of some struggles, but they're ignoring other struggles. It's just a weird thing going on the defense side of the football. And it's just, I don't even know how to explain it. I don't know if they're just hoping some of these veterans or guys they invested in kind of just, I guess, regress to the mean, and that's a positive regression for them. But it's just it's an awkward situation on defense. But the players got to control that at the end of the day too. Obviously, they need to play better. That's first and foremost. They'll be the first ones to admit that. We got to put them in better situations to succeed, and we got to get the right people on the field. So hopefully we'll see some of those changes this week, because like Malik said, this Chargers game it's your season right now. You still have a lot of the teams in front of you left on your schedule, which the Bengals should be very, very, very grateful for. In most of these years, some of these teams aren't even fighting for the playoffs. But now, when we're struggling, you still play all the teams you need to beat that can get you into the playoffs. And one of the only things I want to bring up about, I think, coaching this last week in the Ravens game is something I've alluded in the past before with Zach. It still feels like he struggles to get a feel for the games. I really think it just really looked, and it felt like he just walked into that game and said, we're going to be aggressive, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He didn't really feel like necessarily read the situations, and I'm not saying necessarily any of them were super wrong, but that's just what it felt like, because he's never been that way ever in his life. And it just feels like, okay, this is what I'm doing, no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
At least appreciate the sense of urgency.
Yeah, but it was just like, I don't love that at the same time. It's just, I would just like him to have a better feel for the game, and I feel like that's something he's still continuing to struggle with. And it's just, that's the one thing that I have to nitpick him about. But all in all, it's the same story it's been all year. Offense making plays, defense isn't, and we're finding ways to lose football games.
You're right, and I hate this narrative. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. It pisses me off, because there has been, for this entire era, it was flipped.
Yeah,
it was flipped, and so there's this notion. There are people out there on social media that are going out there and they're saying, "Hey, Lou has more control of the defense than we realize," and that ain't true. I'm just gonna start off saying that ain't true.
Jesse Bates would still be here then.
Jesse Bates would still be here. DJ Reader would still be here. Stu begged for help, and I know a lot of that. And it's crazy, because this is how it starts. This is what scapegoating. This is what scapegoating looks like. This is what it looks like. At the end of the season, somebody has to be blamed. And everybody is left with their dick in their hands, and they're saying it's this person's fault. We know, I'm just being honest with you. We know, we don't know who to blame. So all you could say is, you know what? We gave you the pieces that you needed. It might have not been the pieces you asked for, but we gave you pieces. And now the fan base that once hated Lou, I remember full blown when he took over this team, and Duke Tobin and company went out there and they signed Preston Brown. They extended Preston Brown to a contract extension, and then they had to cut him midway into the season because it sucked,
because he was geriatric,
and everybody was saying Lou is a terrible defensive coordinator, fire this guy. And I remember being the only person standing on a mountaintop saying, if he gets his pieces in here, like any coaching staff, you get your pieces in here, you can make it work. It's funny though, because I could remember personally, even though Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow were connecting on deep bombs and playing like this backyard stylist football, it still never felt like the offense had identity, right? But the defense were making enough plays to get the offensive ball back. They were having timely turnovers. You know who else's defense had timely turnovers? Steve Spagnuolo. You know who else's defense had timely turnovers? Matt Patricia. I remember these. He got his guys in here. They committed one free agency or two free agencies where they said, we're gonna bring in guys that you asked for, and we're gonna try to make it work. Evan, me, Logan, Daniel, we sit up here and we say, the draft is for what, guys? The future. Mm-hmm. Free agencies for the here and now. You're asking a 5th round pick. You're asking 4th round picks, rookies to come in here and take over serious snaps while they're getting acclimated to life in the NFL. And we're shocked by the result. We're shocked by the result that we see. The safety room has been a turnstile. Let me ask you a question. Serious question. Serious question. This is for you, Logan. Right? If you're a defensive coordinator in the National Football League, and you got guys like Justin Simmons sitting out there, do you really fucking think somebody as a defensive coordinator would say, hey, give me Geno Stone over a Justin Simmons?
Nope.
Right.
There's probably several other people on that list as well.
Right. So it comes down to wants, right? Needs. The Bengals are the type to say, hey, well, we gave you something. We filled the position. Do you really think Lou Anarumo said, give me Nick Scott to replace Jesse Bates? You guys are some of the most intelligent fan bases out there. Do you actually think he said, I don't want Jesse Bates in Cincinnati. Give me Nick Scott. Do you really think that's real? So then ask yourself, who's to blame? It's the process of elimination. It's really simple. No coordinator, nobody in their right fucking mind is going to ask for a lesser talent to fill a role of one of the best safeties in football. So when we point the blame at people, when we say it's this guy's fault, when we say fire this, no matter who the defensive coordinator you bring in here next, they're still going to be working with what the front office is giving them. That's the point I'm trying to make. You know who was the first person that said, hey, the one time they did listen to him and said, hey, there's a guy that we should trade for out there. Bengals dude Tobin didn't know who the fuck BJ Hill was. But you know who did? You know who was the defensive backs coach for the Giants? Lou. Wind up being one of the better moves the Bengals had made. It was a fleece. But again, even to make that move, a guy that the Giants were looking to move off of, the Bengals still had to win. The Bengals still had to feel like they overcame you in a trade. It just sucks that that's the narrative of that guy. I don't think the defense will look this bad if Jesse Bates is still in the building in Cincinnati. And that's the part where I see people's Twitter comments and people are saying, fire this guy, fire that guy, fire. And do what with it? And do what with it? You're still going to have to deal with the front office saying, we'll sign off on that guy. We don't need that guy. We want that guy. We don't need that guy. No defensive coordinator is going to want lesser talent. And that's a conversation that keeps happening over and over and over and over again. You could say, hey, give me a top defensive end if he falls to us in the draft. We'll give you that. We'll give you a defensive end in the 4th round. We'll have you cook with that.
Hey, leave Jordan Willis alone.
And you know what? You're stupid. This guy said. But I'm being honest, though. Do you think Lou wants to come out and say, hey, guys like Joseph Asai, we believe in what they're doing? Or do you want him to come out there and say, well, the Duke Tobin and the staff aren't giving me what I need to do to succeed? He's handling it as much as a professional as he can. He's saying all the right things. And what do we expect him to just trash the organization? Or we expect him to just trash Duke Tobin? A blind person could see that Trey Hendrickson needs help. A blind person could see that. But we call for someone's job without actually even understanding the situation. Which is why I've always maintained the same process. If you're giving up on Lou, guess what? Guess what? You should be giving up on Zach, in my opinion. You should be doing away with the whole staff at that point. You should be saying we're restarting. It's bullshit. And I'll stand 10 toes down for anybody who I think is being wrongly done. What's happening to Lou Anarumo right now in the NFL is fucked up. Like, point blank, period. It's fucked up, no matter which way you slice it. And no, I'm not saying he's without fault. But when we talk about the players executing, like it's not like he's calling terrible defensive plays out there. Missed tackling is an execution thing.
Mm-hmm.
But fire Lou on a room. That's what people are saying. Wake up. Evan, what say you?
No, I think that's all good points, man. Effort on defense, man. Like, what the fuck? Like, what's with the? It's not even just technique anymore, man. It's just like effort. It's not everybody trying to get to the ball. It's half the people saying, "Oh yeah, he'll go get it," and then they miss a tackle because they're half-assing a push or a shove or a tackle, and then suddenly it's like, "Oh fuck," and then you miss 3 tackles, and Tylan Wallace takes a freaking easy ass screen 84 yards down the end of the, and it's just you can't do that to yourself. You're not good enough on defense to let them do that. Like, you have to do the small things. Like, you might not have the talent, but you at least got to try and, like you said, execute fundamentals. Fundamentals. We ain't talking you got to be out there making one-handed interceptions. You don't have to be out there getting 5 sacks a game like Trey Hendrickson, but you do have to be effective at doing the bare minimum, the expectation. That's the big thing that sticks out with me with the defense. Is it just is not. Mike Hilton said it himself. Don't think the want to is there. Don't think the want to is there for a lot of these guys. And I don't know what it is, man. I don't know. I don't know what has just zapped the energy from this defense, from the way they used to play, from it just, even when they would bend, and even when they would bend and they would let up, field goal here, get it down, matriculate down the field, they would still find that one guy who could make a play. And I mean, the problem is it's not even just like the rookies. Yeah. I mean, it's completely unfair to rely on so many of these young guys in such heavy roles so early. But at the same time, Logan Wilson, Geno Stones, these are guys who are veteran, right? Like Logan Wilson's captain of your defense.
Cook, brother.
Like he had 2 missed tackles, let up the touchdown, let up like almost 40 yards in coverage. Like Logan Wilson, dude, like I understand that. Hey, you let DJ Reader go. Fuck, that sucks, dude. Like, yes, you absolutely should have kept Jesse Bates. I can understand the argument for Reader. But Jesse Bates, you absolutely should have kept. But then you're sitting here like, okay, who's our next guys? Who has to take over? Who has to now be the veteran? Because you can't just sit around and go, fuck, Jesse Bates ain't here, man. Like, I don't even want to play defense anymore. Like, that's not how it fucking works. Someone else has to be the captain of the defense. Someone else has to carry the mantle. And Trey Hendrickson's back is breaking every fucking year when he's hobbled going into the playoffs because he's playing 1,000 snaps and playing through everything just so this team can even compete on defense. Like,
and Ev, sorry to cut you off, brother.
No, go ahead.
I just want to say this. The Bengals will have you fucking focusing on the wrong thing. They will have you focused on the wrong thing. They really had the fan base turned on Jesse Bates to a degree, thinking that Jesse Bates was wrong, asking for the money that he had. You had the fan base, myself included. I sat up here with a soapbox and a mic talking about Dave Mogetta, how hard he is to negotiate with. And I agree. While they were asking for Jesse Bates to be paid top dollar safety market money and Jesse Bates had not produced that season because obviously contract was at the top of his mind, what has he shown you all throughout the process? What type of leader has he been throughout this entire process? Your calling card was draft, develop, retain, and then you let that guy walk out the door. And I don't mean to drop as many F-bombs, but it's like I have like a spiritual awakening here, sitting here thinking about it. I'm like,
it's like if you're the owner of the company,
Yeah.
right? And you have somebody and you're like, oh, I can fire them and replace them with somebody who's $5,000-$10,000 cheaper, right? But like, you don't think about the replacement cost because when you fire that person, you got to onboard somebody, you got to train them. So you're taking time out of someone else's day to train them, right? So now they're taken away from their other job. Like now you got to get they got to learn how to fill out your documents. They got to learn how to put in your timesheets. They got to learn, and there's going to be growing pains, right? It might take 2-3 months before he's operating at the same level.
100%.
And what have you spent in terms of resources and trying just to replace Jesse Bates? Because you say, yeah, we can replace $16 million safety. We'll get somebody for $7-8 million now. How many iterations of the safety room are we different now? Three iterations of different now, and
shows you how hard that guy is to replace.
Worked.
But here's the crazy part, Bill Murray. You say got to focus on, got to forget about who's not on the team anymore. That's not true. See, if you focus, part of this doing the show is we do deep dives into the intricacies of the Bengals organization to a degree. It helps you understand the moves that they made in the past, the decisions they made in the past, and how to prepare for the future. There have been poor decisions being made for a while now. How about the decision time and time again they kept giving AJ Green money when AJ Green was not playing for you, basically not playing. His hamstring injury kept popping up over and over and over again, right? There are several decisions makings you could think about, holding on to players way too long when you could move off of those guys and actually recoup something from and get something for them. Like, it's okay to move off of guys. No one's going to look at you like you're wrong for it. But the point I'm trying to make is, if the Bengals went into this offseason, they say, hey, that money that we gave T. Higgins this year, that $21 million or however much that price tag was, if we allocated those resources to help on the defense, what would that look like? Your offense is still a top offense in the fucking league right now without T. Higgins on the field.
You might look like 8-2.
And now we're sitting here and they're like, well, there's only a certain amount of money that we could allocate towards it. Well, you dumped 21. We're all respect to T. Higgins too. Good, great player when he's on the football field. But you basically theoretically wasted $21 million. Right, on a guy that's not virtually has missed some of the more key games that you needed him out there for. He's going to get paid this offseason. Some team is going to front that bill. Some team is going to take it on. But think about the position group that's struggling because you said, "Hey, let's dump $21 million into a receiver who's not even playing." Like, just think about that for a second. And when you get down to those decision makings some of those decisions that have been made, your bright idea was, hey, let's fix our defensive problems through the draft. And in the later rounds, let's fix our defensive problems in the draft when you could have, if you're trying to win here and now, right? You could have allocated those resources in free agency. You could have. And I don't know, I'm just kind of dumbfounded a little bit right now when I'm sitting here going through the process of when we're talking about Lou and we're talking about these things. I'm gonna tell you what I was told by two separate people in the league. They said if that dude got fired, he'd be a defensive coordinator within a week. Some team would scoop him up. Because what he's been shown to do, think about what he's done to this defense to some of the more talented quarterbacks in the league, like a Josh Allen, like a Mahomes, with the talent he's had. Like, there's no, outside of Trey Hendrickson, I love the quote I saw, there's no one that puts fear in any offensive coordinator, any opposing quarterback. Outside of Trey Hendrickson, there's nobody on this defense that puts fear in them.
He's consistently come up with good game plans against very good quarterbacks.
Right.
Like, there's always that weird game of like the Mike White where you just, some shit happens. And then, the Trevor Simeon type
That's
5 touchdown game,
for sure.
like
for sure.
Yeah.
But even I could honestly say, like, Marion Hobby, like, people are even calling for Marion Hobby. I saw Marion Hobby produce help. I think Marion Hobby is credited with a lot of Trey Hendrickson's success as well, too. But also the turnaround Sam Hubbard made. Sam Hubbard looked great his first year and a half under Marion Hobby before he started dealing with the ailment, the injuries and stuff like that. Now we're seeing those injuries sort of like take hold of themselves, and now he's not Sam Hubbard anymore. Like, I honestly feel like they're keeping him out there almost as a PR move a little bit more because he's from Cincinnati, and it's like at this point you know what he is, you know what he's not providing for you. You got to see what you got in guys like Miles Murphy. You got to see what you got.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's where I wanted to take this on the
Let's
defense real quick because I got one last key on the defense.
Sorry.
No, you're good. That's an important tangent, man, because we have to talk about this. We can't just say this is broken. We have to talk about how you got there so you know how to fix it. You know how not to repeat the same mistakes so you don't end up in 3 seasons going, fuck, dude, how do we waste another 3 seasons of Joe Burrow, right? When it comes to the defense, and you talked about Sam Hubbard, you talked about Miles Murphy, you talked about Joseph Osai. There's 2 players outside of Trey Hendrickson that had more than one pressure in that game. And it was Miles Murphy and it was Joseph Osai. And they both had 3 pressures each on 7 pass rush snaps for Miles Murphy. 3 pressures on 7 pass rush snaps. And then, BJ Hill did have 5. I want to make sure I give BJ Hill proper credit on the interior there. But among your edges, among your other guys, Joseph Osai had 17 pass rush snaps, 3 total pressures. Sam Hubbard, 18 pass rush snaps, 1 total pressure. I don't think Sam needs to be getting the pass rush snaps anymore. He's still a good run defender. Injuries have definitely zapped what explosion, if you want to call it that, athleticism that he had there on the edge position. And it's just tough, man. Still a good run defender. Has not been that as pass rusher, man. And if you can get out of those 18 snaps, 3 to 5 pressures from Miles Murphy, that's fucking huge, taking that load off of Sam Hubbard. If you can get 3 to 5 pressures from Joseph Osai for giving him an extra 5-10 snaps a game. That's huge. Like, it's time to get these guys on the field, man, because what you've been doing clearly is not working. And to continue beating your head against the wall, expecting something's just going to change where Sam Hubbard is suddenly going to be the dominant pass rusher he never was, that's unfair to Sam, to be honest. And that's unfair to these guys who are continually proving when they get on the field that they can be effective and they can give you what you fucking need, because you haven't been able to get pressures from anyone not named Trey Hendrickson for 2 seasons, 3 seasons. Like, you finally have someone who's showing you a little bit of something. You got to lean into it. You can't, just like Zach Taylor was going for a lot of 4th downs. He was being aggressive. Part of that might be lacking the trust with Money Mac at the moment. Like, but also part of that's like, hey, our backs are against the wall. We got to do something different because what we've been doing has not been working. And just on the offensive side, Justin Matabuke, holy shit, dude. He terrorized Alex Kappa. He terrorized Cordell Volson moving around down there. 10 pressures for him. 9 pressures for 35-year-old Kyle Van Noy. 9 pressures. The guy who was a free agent until Baltimore. That's bad. That's bad. It's single-handedly
he's ever had in a game.
It single-handedly wrecked, like it just wrecks him. It wrecks him. It's so hard to live like that when you have Cody Ford giving up 8 pressures. And I'm less upset with Cody Ford because I know what Cody Ford is. Every time someone tries to talk me into Cody Ford being okay, I'm just he failed at the backup position with 2 different teams, guys. It's time to be real about what Cody Ford is, all right? But Cordell Volson, 7 pressures, all on actual dropbacks. Alex Kappa, 7 pressures. 6 of those came on like true dropbacks, not wide receiver screens, not quick game. This is not the offensive line you should have to be protecting like you did when you had fucking practice squad guys starting. You should not be having to play quick game constantly because you have Alex Kappa and Cordell Volson can't hold up. That's not good enough. That will not cut it. You can't let 35-year-old outside linebackers get 9 fucking pressures and ruin your game plan. Like, if Joe Burrow didn't have a crazy elite Houdini sack avoidance game, it's not even close. You lose this by at least 14 points. Easy.
The thing with their pressures too, it's like, you're gonna lose a few reps. Everybody's gonna do it. Joe's gonna have to do it.
I'm not asking for a perfect game.
Got like literally manhandled.
It was not like, oh, we held for 2.5 seconds and now he's gonna hit you at 3. He had to get rid of that shit, man. And I feel for it because on some of those, like the 3rd and 2, the 4th and 2s where they're taking deep shots, some of that is, hey, they're blitzing. They've got pressure. We're going one-on-one. We like our matchup, but also you have to get rid of the ball and take chances on that. And like, if you don't have time or you don't feel like you have the window because of the pressure, because the pressure's coming from right where you're trying to throw over the middle of the field to the breaking route, well, now you only have the outside available to you there. Like, you have to make a split-second decision. And it sucks that they ended up going deep there and not – but I'm not blaming any individual for that necessarily because I don't think Joe Burrow is intentionally trying to take – every deep shot on 4th and 2. I think he knows that moving the sticks is better than that. I don't think Zach called it with like a primary read is like Jermaine Burton fade route.
Literally on the Jermaine Burton ball, they literally brought 4 people. And they forced Joe Burrow to be a little bit sped up to feel like he had to throw that deep ball. Like
immediate pressure.
4 people.
Immediate
on
pressures.
A crucial down. 4 people. Instant wins all across the line.
And real quick, something else I think that's important too is, Evan, you talked about like the game plan. It is very difficult when you also go into, we talked about this on the show. It's very difficult when you go into a game knowing your game plan is literally to drop back pretty much every single time. We talked about it. And hey, with the team that they have, that was probably your best route, but you're going into it handicapping yourself because quite frankly, Chase Brown didn't have success in that game. I mean, a couple good runs, but it's the lack of a consistent running game, especially we talked about this, but the short yardage game, you're pigeonholing yourself because you're saying, hey, listen, we're going to ride with Joe Burrow. We're going to dropping back 56 times is not a recipe for success. And that was, hey, maybe that was the best plan that they had with the talent that you have of a Chase Brown and a Khalil Herbert. But you have to do something. This is where my mind goes to. You look at these other teams, they make life easy, so easy on their quarterback. And that game wasn't easy on a Joe Burrow, at least from the rushing standpoint. So you credit the Ravens defense, of course, they have an elite rushing defense. But I feel like you do have to, you pigeonholed yourself and you kind of said, hey, and maybe Zach's okay with it. He went into that game knowing and probably likely that, hey, we have to pass the ball a shit ton. But that also went and bit you in the ass when you were up by a lot and you can't efficiently run out the clock. And I will say the Chase Brown thing, it's hard to blame that on somebody other than Chase Brown, but that was clearly the turning point in the game, in my opinion. That was, hey, if you don't fumble the ball there, I'm pretty confident that, hey, hopefully you could go bleed some more clock. But still, it was the lack of a running game. You see these other teams, that's what frustrates me. The Kansas City Chiefs, they're able to do it time and time again. 3rd and 2, 4th and 2, Kareem Hunt right up the middle. And you're able to bleed clock. So I feel like that's where another fundamental question about this offense is, hey, how can you play with the lead with this rushing attack? And that's why I was curious about the Leonard Fournette thing, because I was saying, hey, you need somebody that can succeed on these short yardage gains. Chase Brown had a nice run, the first touchdown of the game on the goal line, but still, like, it feels like they make life very difficult for themselves. And I just look at these other teams, the Lions, of course, they have a different personnel, but the Chiefs are a team, the Ravens, these teams can run the ball and they can run out the clock. So that's just something else when we're talking about building your team and where you go from here. I'd be curious, how can you switch up the offense to maybe bring somebody in, a bigger running back? But that's a concern of mine. So
great points by you.
Yeah.
But I'm still stuck on this defense.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck the offense for a second.
Yeah.
Fuck the offense. I don't give a shit right now about no offense. What I'm saying is, if you want to fix this defense, there's not too often times in the NFL you get a chance to make it right.
Yeah.
The Bengals have a shot to make something right for them on the defensive side. I'd like to see that $21 million allocated that would have went to T. Higgins. If you choose not to tag him, which I pray, you got to think that they're not going to do that again. You got to think that they won't.
Not.
Bengals like to tip their hand sometimes with stuff. I imagine they'd probably try to make a run at Azeez Ojulari in free agency, but there's a guy that's going to hit free agency, and it's only because I think he will hit free agency, and mainly because the Dolphins are in cap hell. He's been a guy I've been in love with since he came into the league. Javon Holland.
Oh, I guessed it. I love Javon Holland. Slot safety versatility. Can
This
play all the
safety free agency
spots.
class is freaking loaded.
Let me tell you right now, before you make any rash decisions, spend this off season, Bengals, and really make a concerted effort to fix the defense. I would really, really like to see the Bengals go out there and pick up a Javon Holland. And usually, Evan, I'm going to read some numbers off to you, and Evan will explain those numbers to you.
Okay.
Javon Holland.
He's going to explain.
Give me
It's a little down. It's a little down this year.
Read numbers.
But last year he
talk
had
nerdy to me.
He
Talk
had an
nerdy to me. Let's go.
89.9 coverage grade according to
Woo!
PFF. Right.
Oh yeah.
Right. In 2021, he had an 87.7 coverage grade according to PFF. This year is down to a 60.2, but I feel like that's the Dolphins defense as a whole.
Dolphins have been,
The Dolphins defense as a whole has been a little bit bad. And he's in a contract year, so you got to imagine, just like maybe a Jesse Bates, he's probably looking ahead towards the cha-ching-ching. So, Evan, you can probably dive a little bit deeper into those numbers than I can, but I do want to let you guys know Malik does have the PFF stats.
No, he's good, man. He's played free safety, slot, box. Like, he gives you versatility at all those spots wherever you need him.
Mm-hmm.
Comfortable playing all three spots.
Mm-hmm.
Ball production, 14 pass breakups, 6 interceptions over the last 4 seasons. Like you said, the whole defense is kind of tanked this year, where they're aging out. I remember, I think it was last season, ranting and raving when everybody kept talking about the Bengals go all in. And I was talking about how the Chargers and how the Dolphins were paying 5 guys who were all 30 years or older, 30 some odd million. And I said, that ticket's going to come due. And what happened the next offseason? Chargers had to get rid of Mike Williams, had to get rid of Keenan Allen. They had to make decisions, right? Now look at the Dolphins. They're hamstrung. They've got a bunch of guys who are 30 plus years old, not playing, dealing with injuries. Like, they're dealing with a lot right now. So you might be able to get Javon Holland at a little bit of a discounted rate just from this year not going as well as the defense on the whole. Like, he might not command top of the market safety money. He might command, 85th, 90th percentile. And maybe that's better with the Bengals. But again, it all comes back to, you've got to be willing to meet the modern standard of contracts, and you have to evolve with the league and how you do business. You can't just always say, this is the way we've always done it, so we're going to continue to do it this way.
Yeah.
That's how you fail to utilize new resources, new technology, fail to look at other avenues for players because we just haven't done it that way. Like that's a terrible way to do business. It's a terrible way to build a team. So you need to modernize how you view contracts, be willing to give that guaranteed money. That's the only way you're going to be competitive in the free agent market and not continue to have contract disputes with everybody not named Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase. And even that one's kind of up in the air at this point.
Right.
Yeah, I don't really want to jump too far ahead into free agency, but since Malik brought it up, I'm gonna bring it up real quick.
Damn, you ain't got to throw me on the butt like
no,
that.
no, I'm glad you did. I love talking about it. I just
only
wasn't
brought it
expecting
up
to
because
talk about
we
it.
wanted to talk about we talking about the defense, and I said this
Oh,
is a name that I want
yep.
to get out there. We're gonna get to Sunday night. We're not putting on the season, guys. This is literally one of the most unhinged State of the Jungle shows. I've never started a show like this where we start
It's
talking
fun.
about regular shit.
But
go ahead.
at the end of the day, we were talking about the safety positions. I love Javon Holland too. That would be fantastic. This safety position, if we want to take another fifth, fourth swing at the safety position, this free agency class is absolutely loaded. At the top, you have Javon Holland, Buda Baker. That's another great one. A little bit older, a little bit of a veteran, more of a veteran than Holland is too. You have Julian Blackman. We talked about him this time last year.
He
Great.
picked off Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
You know they like to going up
Yeah.
after guys.
Trayvon Merrick from the Raiders,
Yeah.
another great one.
Yeah.
Talisa Hufanga from the 49ers,
Ooh,
another good one. There are
yeah.
so many. And again, I hate talking about taking another swing at the safety position because we do it and do it and do it.
Yeah.
But this is the last excuse. There's no reason to continue to have bad safety play anymore. After this offseason, there's just not. There's so
one
many
constant.
good ones.
And
Yeah. So
yeah.
And just to add on to that too, I think a huge issue that I've had, and this is the part that sucks, because I feel like we were robbed, and obviously Dax Hill got hurt. I was excited to see him, man, and I thought he looked good at the beginning of the year. You go look at that Chiefs game, you go look at even the Patriots game. I was excited to see him. I feel like especially the safety position right now, there's just a lack of athleticism, and even go look at like the Joseph Asai pick. He was a 3rd-round pick. I get it. Miles Murphy, I get it. You just look, I feel like there's a true lack of athleticism. Even Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, they are right now, the Bengals are paying their linebacking room like top 10 in the NFL.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. They've done a good job. But those two aren't hyper athletic guys.
They're not performing to the standard of their
there's
contract.
nobody to make up for the lack of athleticism.
Yes. And that's the issue. And I feel like that's where you have to find a way to inject that into your team. I like the Chris Jenkins pick, but like, that's where my mind goes. Like the Geno Stone pick, we talked about it, even in the free agency. I was excited because I was saying, hey, this guy is just always in the right place at the right time. But what was literally the thing written across every scout's thing? Not hyper athletic, and is a guy that can get swallowed up by the NFL because of his size and because of his traits.
Yep.
And that's kind of a trend. You go out and sign Von Bell. The same thing. You get him because he's an intelligent guy, because he's been in the system, not hyper athletic. So I feel like that's what the Bengals defense is lacking as well, because and I hate comparing teams, but I look at teams like the Baltimore Ravens. You got Kyle Hamilton, even Ardarius Washington.
Well,
That dude,
JOK for the
Yes.
Browns. Look at Fred Warner. Like
Von
these are
Diablo.
not. You're not like, wow, these linebackers who are thumpers are really just killing it in the NFL right now. No, you need the
Flying
athletic
around.
guys who can go and cover the flat or can carry the vertical up the seam. Like you need that guy who can do it all, and you need athleticism to do that. It's not that you just need to draft every super athlete regardless of production, but you do need to have that as a box you check, because it does limit your upside or your ceiling, no matter how good you are at the fundamentals.
no, completely. And I think just all around, that's obviously off-season talk, but that's what I would be looking at in the free agency class, in the draft class, and just all around. Like I said, I went back and was really trying to watch this game. Like the Bengals didn't play bad defensively in the first half. Like
No.
and that's the part I feel like everybody's gonna forget about. And yes, you have to play 2 halves,
Yep.
of course. But man, I just can't get that image of Lamar Jackson walking off the field, hearing that entire stadium silent. They were silent.
They're booing.
And that they were booing them. And
Yeah.
for me, I was looking at the saying, hey, there is something there with the defense. How do you stop Derrick Henry, right? Every other team is letting the dude run for 100, 180, and he got nothing. The one time he did something, Lou did a good job, and that's where it was when shit was starting to get south. Lou did a good job, brought in his heavy package, and then kind of stopped him. So I still think I don't think this is the worst defense in the league, and I think that there's remnants of something that can be fixed. But yeah, this offseason is going to be the key for changing it up.
And let's continue talking about that Ravens game. I think people forget there was about 5 stops the Bengals defense had on the Ravens offense. Like he had 5 punts, five punts.
Jesus.
And the Bengals defense was getting them off the field. Momentum is real in football.
Oh.
You know, the notion is everybody was saying the Bengals defense was porous. Believe it or not, the Bengals defense, I think I saw they're 11th ranked against the run. That's kind of crazy to think, but outside of the Saquon Barkley game and a couple other, like the Derrick Henry game, they pretty much done a good job holding running backs in check. You know, I like to really dumb things down and make it not as complex as people want to make it out, because it's crazy. The notion coming out of it was, oh, the Bengals defense is just horrible, when the Bengals defense did so great in the first half. Held Lamar Jackson 93 yards passing. Ravens, I think, scored only a touchdown. Was it? Did they score? How many touchdowns did they have in the first half?
I feel like only one.
Just
Only
one.
right?
Yep.
So they were doing their part. Momentum is real. So I think we can all agree the Bengals defense overperformed against the Ravens offense on Thursday night, right?
In the first half.
In the first half, they overperformed.
Totally.
So how do you prevent something from falling off the handles, right? It's, you know, you got to keep momentum high as you're going.
Mm-hmm.
You come out in the second half and a running back that everybody in Cincinnati is very high on, everybody likes, but no doubt does have issues holding on to the football in critical points, it feels like. He fumbles the ball away. And when I say, you ever play Madden and the momentum meter just starts to just go, and then it's like you just can't stop a nosebleed? That's literally what it felt like. It felt like the Bengals defense was holding on by a thread, and they were just doing what they had to do. They were causing punts. They played phenomenal in the first half, which is why I don't buy into the notion that Lou's just some poor defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Momentum just swung in a major way. And in the league, that's not an excuse. I get it. You still have to find a way to perform.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what leads me to believe it comes to execution. It comes to execution. You have to execute.
See, like I understand the, like, oh, that gave the Ravens a spark when they were looking deflated.
Mm-hmm.
I get that part, but I can't get behind the argument that Chase Brown fumbled the ball, and so the defense forgot to tackle or just half-assed it the rest of the game, right? Like, that's where, like, we can't just say, oh, momentum, tough spot for the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, you did everything right the first 5,
Mm-hmm.
6, 7 drives, and then you just stop pursuing the ball, stop running sideline to sideline, stop forcing them back into bad angles, bad tackling effort, not shoving hard enough. Like, I don't.
You remember?
like,
You know what game this was reminiscent of? It was reminiscent of the Steelers-Bengals game, Sunday Night Football, where Antonio Brown was tiptoeing up the sideline. William Jackson thought he was out of bounds. Remember?
Yeah.
And that's what it reminded me of. I was like, man, not this again, not this shit again.
Oh God!
I don't. Yeah.
With the whole fumble thing too, it's like, you know, I get what Evan's saying too, but I think, you know, it's just one of those things. Defense was playing great,
Mhm.
and now they're in a short field position. They just got a huge shot, and they're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So no matter what, that's a tough situation to be in. And then they score, and they're like, oh shit. Everybody's like, here we go again. You know, this is the same situation we've been in. Now we got to play perfect again. Like, you know, it's just, and then it just, everything just kind of unravels when you haven't had so much success this season. The record is what it is. Every moment that is like that just feels amplified even more. And that's, again, it's not an excuse. They still need to go tackle.
Right.
They still need to shove harder. They still need to play football and pursuit to the ball and do the fundamentals and basics of things. But I just think these moments when you already are feeling the stress of the season being online, if it hits you so much harder, and they didn't do a good enough job responding from it.
I agree. Dan, you got anything else you want to add about that
Yeah,
game?
no, I mean, just looking at that game, like, and it's just tough, man. I don't know. It really is. Like,
It
it
is.
is, man.
Good
It
work
is
for
tough,
it, Danny.
man. Yeah, it is tough.
It's-
I mean,
So-
it was definitely a tough game. It was a tough pill to swallow. I'm not going to hold you. I sat back and after that game and I said, wow, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase played amazing. That was probably the best game I've ever seen them play together, where they just seemed so locked in.
It was awesome.
Man, it was, yeah. I don't know. That was interesting. But let's talk about the Bengals looking for veteran help. The Bengals brought in Xavier Howard, Leonard Fournette, playoff Lenny, and for a minute there, Foodie Nation was really pumped up and really excited.
Yeah.
Leonard Fournette left without a contract. They instead signed
Gary
Brightwell.
Yep.
Arizona's finest.
Yeah, Gary Brightwell and nobody else. So they brought in another running back. They brought in another running back, and so much was made about them not feeling so secure about, the depth of the running back position that they had, and so they felt the need that was something that needed to happen. I've got my thoughts, but I'll just say, again, front office probably, all metrics believe that they weren't able to agree to a contract. They said Xavier Howard looked good during the workout. No doubt people have their feelings about Xavier Howard for off the field stuff, but they went out there and they did sort of what they did throughout the season. They made an attempt. Just like they made an attempt to trade for a defensive player. They made an attempt to go out there and add somebody at the cornerback position. And that tells you that they recognize that there is a need, there's inconsistent play from the cornerback spot. Now, maybe this made them look at themselves and say, hey, you know what? Maybe we need to turn to Josh Newton more often. Maybe we need to give Josh Newton some more looks. But it's clear you're dealing with young players right now that you're asking them to step up in a big way, right? And you're asking them to fill some big role, to fill a big role, essentially. DJ Turner and Cam Taylor-Britt have been inconsistent this year. That's just the best way to put it. Mike Hilton has sort of been the Bengals' most consistent cornerback out there.
Shocking. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I want to give Evan, myself, I think Logan said this too, and I know Daniel said it, credit. We talked about adding a veteran presence at the cornerback position
post-draft,
and we talked about the importance of it. And no, we like the players that we have. Well, certainly if Dax Hill tears his ACL, you're definitely going to add somebody. Nope, we're going to go with the guy that was getting burnt all camp, and we're gonna see. And now he's very handsy, he's very grabby. He gets penalty called on him every now and again. One thing I'll say about DJ Turner, when that ball goes his way, you're getting something. You don't know what it is, but you're getting something, right? You're leaving with something. You're going to either get a big play by him, or you're going to get a penalty. You know that, but it's going to be exciting. But my thing is, again, this speaks to the front office. Any other, I hate to say the word because I hate to be a competent front office would say, you know what? We have a need. We need help.
A need for speed.
We need to make some.
Well, yeah, we do have a need for speed.
We need to make some additions to try and help.
That was a joke, but it wasn't joking.
Yeah, but that's my point though. Like, you realize that you have a need there, and you say, you know what, now we're fine. Even if the Bengals were to call up an Eli Apple.
Oh goodness.
I don't love Eli Apple. Woo! But man, in Cincinnati, me and Daniel were going back watching some film about him when he was in Cincinnati. He was playing at a high level.
He was all right.
He was playing at a high level at some point.
It's just come to one of those. It's just come to that time where it's like they can't, like, whoever's out there can't be playing worse, necessarily. So it's just like, are you going to keep running them out there? Are you going to give somebody else a shot? I'll be the first to say Cam Taylor-Britt and DJ Turner both have had some pretty high flashes. And when that happens, you're like, oh crap, here we go. And then they just go back to the sucking, and then they reel you back in with a couple flashes. But that inconsistency is killing them in between, and that's it's tough. That's where you would like a veteran corner maybe to rotate in a couple snaps here and there. But like Lou said last year, he doesn't like to rotate his corners and his secondary stuff. That's not something he's ever liked to do. So it's that's something that's also new for him. It's just starting to trend into uncharted territory for a lot of people, and you can kind of tell they're even kind of confused on what to do, which is exactly why a veteran presence will always help just be the safe, reliable option.
Yeah. I wanted Steven Nelson. That was my guy. That was my guy.
Still sitting out there, isn't he?
He's retired.
He's retired.
He just had a newborn, so good for him. He's out there, just being a dad.
You still have like I'm looking at it right now. I mean, these names are disgusting. I'm going to say that right now.
What? You mean the available corners in week 10 of the NFL season are gross?
Like you said, Eli Apple's on a practice squad. There's probably a few better-ish.
JC James. I don't know if I want to calm down that.
I'll let someone else handle that one.
He fell off
quick.
And he was good, man.
He was great in New England, yeah.
But man, I'm looking at it. I'm just saying, like, here's my prediction, and this is not an educated prediction. I have to think that the Bengals are going to probably, depending on what happens on Sunday, they're probably going to look to bring some people in for visits during the bye week. That's a good time to do it. That's my thought process. I think they're going to look to bring some people in during the bye week to potentially see if they can make a signing or two of someone that could actually help this team.
Yeah.
We'll see if it actually happens.
I will say we missed the waiver claim. Isaiah Williams, front office making moves.
Oh, yeah. Getting those playmakers.
But hey, listen, it's what they listen. They're prioritizing offense.
Yeah.
They understand their strengths. They said
to
they said we are stronger with the offense than we are with the defense. We're gonna go out there. We're gonna add a receiver who probably will be inactive.
I think he's probably just going to return kicks and punts. I think is what's going to happen.
I think he will not see playing time on the field.
Well, I think Charlie Jones will be inactive again.
Oh yeah, that's a good
I
point.
think
That's a good point.
And I think they
forgot
don't
about
want Trent Irwin back there to return punts anymore. I assume they want a little juice. That's the only avenue.
Juice? Oh.
No,
I got
they want a little
the
bit of
juice,
something
I
out there. I just think that's the only path I see to him getting on the field. That's the only path to the claim that makes sense to me because he was great at it in the preseason. 30 yards a return on his kickoff returns, 20 yards return on his punts. Like those are legit numbers.
Yeah.
So that's the only path I can see
for sure
getting on the field.
Let me just say this. You would think that this would be a time where a guy like Cedric Jackson might. I mean,
Seriously though, I mean,
but let me say this. This has probably been this, and we still got more to go on the show. This has been my favorite State of the Jungle show because of how uncoordinated it has been. We had our
not a lot of
topics,
structure,
not a lot of structure, but I like it this way. Only because you're getting authentic, real conversation here. But make sure you guys do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content. Got over 100 people in here, only 32 likes. Guys, please like it up. We greatly appreciate that. Let's keep it going. We got to answer just the question, right? We still got 2 more topics after this, but will the Bengals defense step up? And who's going to step up on the Bengals defense? Someone needs to step up and say, hey, you know what? Trey can't do it by himself. Trey cannot do it by himself. We've got to step up and do something. So I want to do a roundtable on the discussion. I want to go with Daniel first because Daniel's been kind of quiet on the show.
Danielson.
We apologize, Daniel, too, for that.
I don't apologize.
I want to start with you. Who is your pick to step up, not named Trey Hendrickson, on this defense to help get this ship corrected?
Man, I'll give a couple names. I think the easiest one.
Don't cheat us.
Gonna take them all.
Don't take them all from us. Let's
No,
give one.
All right, I'll give one because
there we go.
I'm gonna say Mike Hilton, and
Okay.
the reason why I'm gonna say him is one, he's been the most consistent guy, but the real path I can see to somebody making big time plays. Obviously, Pratt and Logan Wilson can make big time plays in the middle, but is simulating pressure. And I think that there's been already huge times where Mike Hilton's made some big time plays. Even go look at that Ravens game. Ravens had a wide open quick screen. Mike Hilton was the one to kind of get in there. I really think he's one of the X factors, and I just hope that Lou continues to use him because he's had some big time plays so far this year. And I think that as you go up against these teams with not the greatest quarterbacks in the world, I think that you can use him in a lot of different ways. So I think he's the one guy where I'm looking at my defense. If I'm the defense coordinator, he's my chess piece that I can really move around and use him in a ton of different ways. So obviously the young guys, I'll let you guys touch on some of them, but he's the one where I'm saying, hey, if somebody's gonna make some big time plays, if somebody's gonna really make a big impact, he's the one I see having at least 5 to 10 opportunities per game to say, hey, fly in off the right edge, or hey, come, fly down and do something. So I would really say Mike Hilton.
Okay, Logan.
For me, I think I'm gonna go Chris Jenkins.
Damn it.
I think. Sorry, Malik. Well, I also I'll talk about Chris Jenkins first, and I'll bring up another person slightly.
No. You
okay.
get one person.
Okay. Should I let you talk about Chris Jenkins?
No, you talk about Chris Jenkins.
Okay.
I got somebody.
Okay. With Chris Jenkins, I just think he's one of the few people that I think you can just at this point in time truly just leave out there. He can get to the quarterback a little bit. He can stop the run a little bit to where, not that I don't think anybody was overly thrilled with the Sheldon Rankins signing. Like, you saw the avenue there. There were some holes like there has been with all the other signings, but he's just been downright utterly atrocious this year. So
he
it's
needs
like
to be benched.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's why a guy like Chris Jenkins comes to mind. Because again, you can throw him in there, you can leave him in for the runs, you can leave him in on passing downs. He's just one of the few people that has a clear path to just being out there all the time. And when he's been out there, he's been pretty solid. Again, he's made stops in the run. He's got to the quarterback a little bit. And he was a rookie. He played his first 3 games with the club on his hand. He's still getting used to everything. He's getting a little better each week. So I just think he's the one person that has a clear path to making a bigger impact down the second half of the year than he did in the first half.
Evan?
It's not his fault, but I need the
But you
juice
start
from
like
Miles
that.
Murphy.
Yeah.
I need it.
Yeah.
And he's shown flashes in the last couple weeks. There's obviously, 2 missed tackles in a short amount of time last week. You don't want to have that. That's going to try and prevent you from getting on the field. But fuck, dude, you got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You got nothing to lose at this point.
Mhm.
And we can't continue to do this shit where we just sit the young guys on the back end of the bench and don't even have them active, and we don't develop them. We don't get them live reps. We don't get them reps with the starters. We don't figure out what they are so that we know what we have in those guys and whether or not you can rely on them going into the next season. Then you might have had a better idea of whether you could rely on Yoshi Voss and Charlie Jones and in bigger situations. You could have had a little bit better understanding of Miles Murphy if you were more willing to cycle him in as opposed to relying so heavily for like 900 snaps from Sam Hubbard.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to be doing that. Like you can easily cycle out Trey and Hubbard occasionally to just take 100 snaps off of those guys' plate
That was a long
and
way.
see what you get out of Miles Murphy, out of Joseph Osai. Like it continues to be a problem. And then you get to the end of the contract of the guy with a guy like Dax Hill. Maybe with a guy like Jordan Battle. It's just I can continue to name guys where I'm like, hey, they just kind of toiled around and either bounced between positions or never got a sure footing or never got a real opportunity like to just play the fucking game and be out there and be in rhythm. Like they never got the chance to do that.
Yeah.
They never got the chance to set up their pass rush moves and execute, right? And like that's really disappointing to me. So I want to see more of Miles Murphy in that regard, but I also just want to have more information about what do you have on this team, because the players you have out there right now are just not making it work.
So I've got a guy, and look, first of all, I agree with everybody that you said. Daniel, that was a little underrated one. I didn't expect you to go with Mike Gilton. I mean, he's because he's been consistent, right?
Yeah.
But I thought that was a good one still, though. I agree with you. I think Sheldon Rankins needs to be benched.
Yeah.
I think that he's played horrible, and even benched needs to be very clear when I say benched. Doesn't mean that he doesn't need to play at all. That just means he just doesn't need to be a starter, in my opinion. I personally like the returns and what I saw from McKinley Jackson. I like to see him and Chris Jenkins out there on the field more, especially if BJ Hill is dealing with injuries, obviously. I also wouldn't mind mixing and matching guys like Miles Murphy in the interior along with Sam Hubbard. I've got a guy that I think is going to be huge for the Bengals the second half of the season, and it's Jordan Battle. I think Jordan Battle is going to be huge for the Bengals defense. I like some of the stuff that I saw from him. I don't like to Daniel's point. I'd like to not see him covering tight ends one-on-one. But there's another guy that is on the tip of my tongue. Another guy that's on the tip of my tongue. Dejon Anthony. I think Dejon Anthony might get a bigger role in this defense. And I think it'll be deserved too, if you ask me. I think the one thing when you turn on the film and you watch him when he was at Ole Miss is he's you don't know how they're going to utilize him. He's a Swiss Army knife. He can cover tight ends. He can do so much. And I wonder, will he start to steal some snaps away from a guy who just seems to not get the defensive side of the ball? I also wonder, will you start to see guys like Tyson Anderson get factored in a little bit more, especially when they're playing elite from a special team standpoint? I wonder that. But there's another guy that's underrated for me as well, who needs to step up. And I've saw flashes in a couple of games. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think Joseph Osai could be big down this stretch here for the Bengals.
Has to be.
He has to be. We are seeing him more and more on pass rush situations, and I say that, guys, very, very uncomfortably. I don't know if I'm going to put my foot in my mouth by saying this because I've been very critical of Joseph Osai. But I think that some of the returns, some of the almost sacks, could spark something. I think like Lamar Jackson is an awkward quarterback to go against.
Oh, yeah.
And the Ravens offense is an awkward quarterback to go against, especially if you're a young defensive end, because you're like, do I rush him or do I play contain?
And as soon as you get caught in between.
Yes. And the thing about Lamar, you have to be decisive. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be decisive. I think the next couple of quarterbacks that he goes up against will be a lot easier to play against, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, although I don't know if it'll be in Cincinnati, I think this next stretch of games will be what gets Joseph Osai paid in the offseason. I do. I think I could see him having a breakout game against the Titans. I could see him having a pretty big game from a couple of these games going down the stretch. And I think that you need that type of confidence. All it takes is one game. You need that type of confidence. Confidence comes from knowing you don't know what you don't know. I think that Joseph Asai could be big for the Bengals down the stretch. And guys, I want to make sure we're clear. We're close. We are another good pass rusher away from helping the secondary. The secondaries aren't going to automatically improve, right?
Yeah.
DJ Turner is what he is. And it's crazy because he looked so damn good in the beginning of his rookie season. But if you get pass rush, right, and you can help the guys in the secondary, man,
They don't have to cover for 4 seconds, and
Yeah.
that's like
So
right
far.
now. Like if we're being honest, there's many plays. Went back and watch. Like Cam Taylor-Britt, like is these dudes respectively. Cam's getting cooked
Mhm.
like bad, but look at some of these other teams, and this is just my philosophy. I think if you have a dominant pass rush, you can make a Super Bowl at the minimum, and you need a dominant pass rush to make a Super Bowl. You look at all these teams that have done it to really be at the pinnacle. You have to find a way somehow to get a pass rush,
have to.
because if you can get a pass rush, it makes everything easier.
Yeah, and you know who's the perfect player of benefiting from a good pass rush in the secondary that we're all talking about? Geno Stone.
Yeah.
Look at him. He leaves Baltimore, one of the best pass rushing units in the league. Look what they just did to us.
Mhm.
7 picks, leads the league in interceptions. He's everywhere. He's perfect. He's always in the right spot. Comes to Cincinnati where he's got to cover for, even if it's just a second longer, now he looks terrible.
Mhm.
That's, I don't think he's truly that different
'Cause-
of a player,
yeah.
but it's the situation he's in is not as comfortable for him anymore.
I think you bring up a great point. There's also a guy sitting on the Bengals practice squad right now that they brought back. Raymond, what's his name?
Johnson.
Raymond Johnson.
Yeah.
I loved what I saw from him in that preseason. I don't know where he's been or what's been
I
going
think
on.
it was with the Lions.
I wouldn't mind giving that guy a shot. I mean, you need something. You need to leave no stone unturned when it comes to pass rush department. But I also say and guys, I'm just literally just spitballing names right here as well.
Yeah.
Cedric Johnson, don't sleep on that
Yeah.
as well. Cedric
Yeah.
Johnson. Cedric Johnson had some flashes.
Yeah.
Now, we'll see what happens. I definitely think that some of these defensive ends need to have come to just meetings with themselves and realize they're not who they think they are anymore. Say my bird. And need to be able to go from there. If you guys do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content from the TWSN studios. Yes, Bengals fan. He said Raymond Johnson signed with the Lions last year. Yeah, the Bengals brought him back. Yeah, that makes sense. So he's sitting on the Bengals practice squad. So you got to imagine when are they waiting to call him up? So there's two more things that we want to talk about. We probably won't really get to too many questions today, honestly, because we've kind of gone long. But one of the topics that I want to talk about is just analyzing the Bengals' remaining opponents. And then I want to talk about the next one, which is, are the Bengals poised to go on a run? Because I have a thought process on that. But let's pull up the Bengals' remaining schedule, Daniel. If we could pull that up for us. Obviously, the Bengals have.
Want me to just go through it?
Well, yeah. We can just talk through together. The Bengals have the Chargers this week, right? Primetime game. Everything is on the line here. I'll be honest with you. In my opinion, I think they need to win this game. And then they have their bye week after this. And they come out with the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. True. Let's deal with it in 2-game increments. How about that? Let's deal with it in 2-game increments. What is everybody's feeling notion on this game? Just a quick little speed round. Daniel.
My notion on this game is it's going to be a very close game, and I think that gut tells me I think the Bengals win this game. I think these two teams are in two different spots. I think the Bengals win this game, but this Chargers team is going to make life very difficult. They are a trench team, and they are a team where you are benefiting from not playing an elite weapon room, but the Lad McConkey, I can see 10 receptions. I can see them going for 150, 200 yards on the ground. So
10 receptions plus 900. Slam that shit.
I'm gonna be honest. I think that
10 receptions. I mean, I might be on that train.
I'm gonna be honest.
$1 on
Like
it.
I look at what they've got, and they don't have dudes that are flying down the field, but they got guys that they can make it work, and they're just hard-nosed football team. So gut tells me I think the Bengals win this game, but this is probably the toughest game on the schedule.
Yeah, with just about the Chargers game real quick. Their defense is I don't want to say it's been amazing. They lead the league in the least amount of points per game. It's like 13.5 or something. But they've played 9 games. You know, their opponent has scored more than 10 points 4 times. They're 2-2 in those games.
Mm-hmm.
They have 2 wins when their opponent scores more than 10 points. To
The
beat
offense
the
is a
Chargers,
struggle.
you have to score points. If you put up, you know, the way this and those 2 wins, by the way, are against the Browns and the Titans. Whoop-de-will. You know what I mean? Like that just is what it is. You can only play who's in front of you. They're taking care of business. That's all that matters. The Bengals have been tested way more than this Chargers team has. If the Bengals find a way to score 20 points in this football game, this season has shows that's probably enough to beat the Chargers.
Chargers offense has been bad in the red
and
zone.
it's been coming up a little bit as late. Herbert's they're kind of finding that groove
Big
finally.
plays, inconsistency and big plays.
But at the end of the day, if the offense continues to be what it is, they should have no problem winning this game. That's not necessarily going to be easy. Like I said, the Chargers haven't given up a lot of points, but they also haven't played anybody overly talented either.
Okay. As it pertains to the Chargers game, I won't get too in depth here. Be sure to tune in to Know Thy Enemy, and we got a more in depth breakdown there for you. But overall, I definitely think that the Bengals, even if the defense is not great, I think the Bengals should be able to produce more against this Chargers defense than the inconsistencies of the Chargers offense will allow them to produce against the Bengals defense. I say that knowing full well that when I say I feel like the Bengals should win this game, I feel a terrible pit in my stomach that then makes me want to go put $25 on the Chargers money line. But you know,
Are they underdogs?
No,
The Bengals are
I think it was
Chargers are-
+1.
Yeah, I think
I like
it
that,
opened
man.
up as 2.5.
I like that.
And it's
Yeah.
gone down a little bit.
I like that.
So yeah, no, I mean, hey, like I think the Bengals should win. That's what makes me so scared about it, because every game I've thought they should definitely win has not gone very well.
Yeah. And now they got the Steelers after that, obviously.
Yeah.
How we feeling about that?
I feel like you split the series, whether it's this one
Yeah.
or the other one. I feel like you drop one or the other.
What's after that? Dallas
Dallas?
Yeah.
and Cooper Rush. Well, you can't say that Bengals will beat Cooper Rush. Last time we faced Dallas, Cooper Rush
Could
beat
be
us.
Trey Lance.
in Dallas, yeah.
Could be Trey Lance.
Could be Trey Lance.
Could be Trey Lance.
Holding
but,
out hope for Trey Lance.
you know, guys. So we can switch it over here. So are the Bengals poised to make a run, right? Because we can kind of fill this still in to everything that we're talking about. You know, I might be kicking myself after this week for what I'm about to say. But I'm not dumb. I've seen this story play out before. The Bengals, after the bye week, are a different team under Zach Taylor. They come out with new focus. They come out more locked in. And they play with a different type of intensity. I think the Bengals going to run, guys. You know, Daniel and I were talking about that on the Sit Down Morning Show, and he was talking about how he could see them losing to the Broncos and stuff like that. And, you know, I shared my thoughts. I said the Cowboys game makes me a little uncomfortable. But I think they're going to run. I think they're looking for they need a victory against a team. Number one, that a game that's respectable, but more so they need a victory that instills belief in this team. I think with the eyes of the world watching on Sunday Night Football, I think the Bengals going to run. I think it starts this Sunday.
Has to start this Sunday.
in LA. And I've been the biggest critic of this team. I've been the biggest critic of this front office. And I know people are probably going to dunk on me and say this and say that about me after this. And I'll take everything that people say. But when I'm looking at this Bengals schedule, guys, I just don't believe the Chargers. I don't believe the Cowboys. I don't believe the Broncos. I don't believe the Steelers twice are better than this team. I don't believe it. We're talking here about the offense playing a great year. It's a great offense.
Mhm.
We're talking about the defense playing average. The thing that gives me hope is every time they've played one of these upper echelon elite teams, they've showed up. They didn't get blown out against the Chiefs. They controlled the game, had the game won. Ghost call, right?
Yeah.
The Ravens game, they had them beat twice. twice. And there's something to be said about putting it all together. There's something to be said about, well, you didn't win. I get that. I get what people are saying about that. But those games, they showed up. You want to say they don't finish? You want to say they aren't going far? They're going super? That's fine. You want to say they're not doing far? We could talk about it in the playoffs and say the Bengals won't do anything in the playoff. Okay, I'll buy that notion because they do. You at that point, you're playing elite teams. You're playing teams that made it there, that found the way to win the close margin games. I'll buy into that notion. But I won't buy into the notion that the Steelers, that the Chargers, that the Titans, that the Browns, that the Broncos are better than this Bengals football team. I won't buy into that notion. I won't buy into that notion. And again, I've been a big critic of this team. And I could be sitting here in December with egg on my face. I don't think I will be, though. I don't think I will be. I think this Bengals team goes on a run, guys. And I think they win. I think they find their way into playoffs. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think this Bengals team is better than the Colts. I think this Bengals team is better than the Broncos right now, who they would be competing for a wild card spot.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, it's all in front of you still. As crazy as it is to say, the Bengals still control what they can control. This is a last place schedule. And I think about the offenses the Bengals have faced, the teams that have been able to match them. Something has turned the last couple of weeks with this Bengals offense. Right? Against the Raiders, against the Ravens, they showed up in a big way. I don't know, and I don't believe in my heart that the Steelers, that the Titans, that the Browns, that the Broncos can match the Bengals offensively. I don't believe that. I think it's a lot to ask, especially if you're getting a T. Higgins back.
Mm-hmm.
So I choose to side with what I know. And what I know is under Zach Taylor, the Bengals have always come out swinging after the bye week. I'm betting the Bengals to make the playoffs. Daniel.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the part of the conversation I want to go to now is, hey, like I'm with you. Let me just say this. I think that there's a real possibility in my mind. You have to win Chargers and Steelers. I think if you win the next two games, you're making the playoffs. Obviously, you still got 5 more games. I think if you lose one of the next 2 games, I think you're done. And the reason why is I think that kills your momentum, whether it's Chargers and then you got 2 weeks until your next game. How's the locker room going to feel after that? If you go winning the Chargers by a week, lose to the Steelers, how do you recover from that loss? So that's my question to you guys really is, hey, realistically, because obviously 2 losses put you at 9-8. 1 loss puts you at 10-7. What's your guys' thoughts on how many times you can lose? And also what's your thoughts on, can you lose one of the next 2 and still make the playoffs? What's your guys' thoughts?
I think first and foremost, this Chargers game is absolutely,
It's a playoff game.
yeah, it's the most important game you're probably going to play. It's one of the teams you're going to be competing with, like we've alluded to many times. And again, if you lose this game and then you have to sit on it when you're already struggling, you're going to turn to 4-7 at that point. There's a chance that a lot of people are going to continue to have piss poor attitudes, not prepare themselves properly, and just continue to I don't want to say derail, but kind of derail at the point. Some of these guys are just going to unravel and just do things they're not used to doing, and just things, all hell can break loose at that point. So winning this Chargers game, and like you said, like Malik said even at the beginning, building momentum is going to be absolutely massive. Go make a statement in LA on Sunday Night Football. Have a good couple weeks of practice. And like Malik alluded to, maybe we bring in some guys, throughout the bye, whatever it is, and then you come out with a huge divisional game at home. That is absolutely massive. There's no better way to regain all of the momentum that you have pissed away all year than these next 2 games. Obviously, I think if you lose the Steelers game, there's still a chance to do it because you just got to run the table at that point. And that's very hard to do. It's not impossible, but it's very hard to do. But it all starts with Sunday night. That's the only thing I'm going to focus on right now is Sunday night, setting the tone on Sunday night for the next couple of days and the rest of the year. Everything comes out of Sunday, in my opinion.
I think you have to win the Chargers game.
Yes.
You can afford to lose the Steelers game. And I say that because the Steelers are already up at the top of the division with the Ravens. Like, you're not chasing them. You're chasing the Broncos. You're chasing the Colts. You're chasing the Chargers. Now, you lose a bit of your control with that if you do drop this early game to the Steelers. But if you beat the Chargers this week, lose to the Steelers, but then take care of the Cowboys, you take care of the Titans, and then you take care of the Broncos, I think you have a pretty good shot to get into the playoffs. It might be 70% chance instead of 85 or 90. But I think if you do take a loss to the Steelers or the Cowboys, who are an NFC team, you do lose a bit of control where you need the Broncos to maybe lose a game. You need the Colts to maybe lose a game. But Anthony Richardson taking back over at quarterback. Colts are going to be maybe a little bit less consistent. So there may be some opportunities there. We know the Broncos have been playing great defense. Bo Nix has
play
been
this week, don't they?
surprising.
Broncos play, the big game, I think. Let me check.
Let me see.
There's a game that happens this week that impacts it. But I guess I'll talk about the elephant
They
in the
play
room.
Falcons.
They play the Falcons. Who plays this week? That it's a pivotal
I'm on it.
matchup this week that happen. Who do the
You've got in terms of like AFC head-to-heads, you've got
Ravens Steelers play each other this week.
you got Ravens Steelers, you've got like Raiders Dolphins. So if the Dolphins end up losing there,
got the Jets.
What a matchup that is.
can't wait for
So-
that one. Yeah,
So here's another thing I'll say. Let's talk about the elephant. Let me just say the elephant in the room.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide for sure. Yeah,
Right in
how about
front.
that? The elephant in the room, I'll say, is I don't know if a Zach Taylor era can withstand a last place schedule and then lose some of these teams remaining down the stretch here and miss the playoffs with a healthy Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase playing the way they are. I don't know if you get the locker room back from that. That's just my honest
real
opinion.
hard, man.
It'd be very, very difficult because the one thing you could say is, oh, well, we actually found a loophole, guys. The statistic is no head coach and quarterback have won a Super Bowl after year 5 together.
Mhm.
Well, technically speaking, Joe Burrow, their first Super Bowl. Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor haven't really had 5 years together because of the 2-season injuries.
3.7.
Yeah, about 3. So we'll give them a little pass there. So Evan's still looking at his eye. But no, needless to say, they need to find a way. Listen, we've been live for an hour and 20 minutes. This has been a jam-packed show. We appreciate that you guys are as passionate about the Bengals as we are, and you guys love having this conversation with us and talking it through with us. I'm sorry to jip you and cut you a little short on the questions this week. We'll promise we'll make up for it next week. We'll do a mailbag maybe for you guys, especially with it being a bye week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But if you guys could do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys never miss when we go live or upload content. Remember, Know Thy Enemy will be going live this upcoming Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern as Evan breaks down the keys to victory for the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Chargers. Listen, we appreciate y'all so much, Houday Nation. We appreciate even our guys like Sean Brennan in the comments section, our residential Chiefs fan who loves the sit down, man. We appreciate you, brother. If you guys just give a like on this video, over 107 people, only 42 likes. We greatly appreciate it. We'll be back live tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. as we go live for another episode of the Sit Down Morning Show with Malik, Wright. And me and Daniel will be getting you all caught up for Thursday Night Football with our favorite bets and everything like that. Listen, a lot of football is still left. 7 weeks of Bengals football is still left. It flew by pretty quickly.
Yeah. But
just know that, again, the Bengals do control a lot, but they got to find a way to turn up the heat right now. This defense got to find a way to figure it out. And I think me and the crew here, we believe because we've seen them do it before that there is potential for them to go on a run here. But it starts here with the Chargers game. We appreciate you guys, and as always,